What is going on, everyone? Welcome to a post-Wrestlemania edition of the J&J Power Hour. I always say that's so weird. Power Hour. I think it's just because I rush everything I say. Oh, well. But welcome to the Power Hour, guys. We were optimistic last week going into WrestleMania, and we're going to talk WrestleMania in a second, but it's no surprise to all of us with how we tweet and how everyone kind of reacted, but expectations were probably exceeded, so that's a good thing. But we're going to talk WrestleMania. This is a WrestleMania edition. We're not going to talk too much else other than WrestleMania, but we're going to kick things off before anything with last week. JPJ finally made his debut on my Twitch. I've been saying this for so many months. That he was going to get on my Twitch, do some stuff. We did a WrestleMania Night 2 simulation, and it was damn fun.
It was a blast.
Yeah, it was
a blast.
Fun as fuck. So JPJ will be on my Twitch more often, and we're just going to do shit like that. We just hang out and we just bullshitted for 2 hours.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, it was actually quite the night of wrestling on that. Like that night might have exceeded WrestleMania exceeded my expectations, but that night that we simmed exceeded what actually happened in night 2, I think.
Especially
it was quite good.
That Bob Dog match. You need to go to my YouTube. Well, you're here on my YouTube watching this. Go and watch night 2 and watch the Bobby Lashley and Omos match.
Incredible.
All-time
classic. An all-time classic.
It ruled. It is what it is with that match on night 2, but we'll talk about that in a second. First and foremost, we're now we're recording this. We wanted to make sure we recorded this after WrestleMania, but we really could have recorded before because it didn't really make much different. But we're recording this as NXT is airing, so we're certainly, I guess, out of the WrestleMania feel now. Like it's gave us a couple of days to kind of breathe. You know, when something's fresh and you're like, that was the greatest thing in the world, and then you actually think about it and you're like, was that really that fun? And we've had a couple of days removed now from WrestleMania just to kind of breathe, let it sink in. So we're doing this at a good time. So we encourage people comment below and stuff like that, what you liked at WrestleMania, what you didn't, what you loved, what you hated, all of that kind of good stuff. So we're going to get into things with WrestleMania. We're not going to do this too formally. I'm not going to go match by match because that's just fucking boring. We're not going to talk about everything. Let's talk night 1 first because it was first. And I think we just better start with probably what I think was the match of the weekend. That's Becky Lynch and Bianca Bel-Air. We knew going into this, I knew going into this, I'm like, this is going to be a show stealer. It's going to be very, very good. The first thing, before we talk about the match, we need to talk about their outfits and we need to talk about their entrances because these two ladies showed the fuck up for WrestleMania. This felt like WrestleMania. I miss grandiose entrances at WrestleMania in general. They don't do them enough. Becky come out in a car. She had the very cool Lady Gaga feel of an outfit. Like she had like the black with the hair and everything like that. It was like Madonna, Lady Gaga-ish, like this kind of it just looked. I think the best thing I can say about this too, I have a very big positive rant in me coming for this match in general, but before I get into that, just talk about the entrances and stuff like that. It felt, I hate using this because WWE shoved it down our throat, but it felt big time. It really felt like a big deal. Like this really could have, if it wasn't for it should have main evented. If it wasn't for Austin, I understand why Austin was in the main event, but this was the main event in my eyes of like wrestling, the pageantry of wrestling, the emotion, the storytelling, everything just delivered. But entrance-wise, Becky come out, driven out in a car, this big WrestleMania-esque like gear outfit, whatever you want to call it. It just looked like money and it just looked like a big deal. And I just love that. But I think entrance-wise, like Bianca had the best entrance of the weekend, in my opinion. The marching band, it felt like a big deal. Like that woman just oozes. I hate using this word because it's so hard to describe it. She just oozes it. She has it. They're what you want out of everything. She is a generational, once-in-a-lifetime kind of talent that I just have no bad things to say about her or Becky in this situation. But Bel-Air is just, oh my goodness. There's no words to describe her.
Yeah, it's a different level. It's just a different level. She has she just is so cool.
Yeah.
She's just so cool.
And she's a baby face, by the way, that is shoved down our throats. I hate that term, but like, she is a baby face that wins a lot. She's a baby face that is on television pretty much every week. She's a baby face that, in a lot of cases, would get booed, and it's impossible to boo this woman.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she just, everything about her presentation feels real. That feels like she's being who she is. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's someone putting on a fake good person character.
No.
Like, it feels like it's just natural. The way she wrestles, she's arguably the most powerful. Like, she's so powerful, strong, athletic.
Ridiculous.
The outfit she wore, it's absurd. And like the outfit she wore with the lips up for the top, and just, she had the sunglasses. And I loved the marching band. Loved
it was so good.
The marching band. It was so good. And
it everything about chills. Her like, I was like, oh my God, it felt like WrestleMania. WrestleMania is meant to be over the top. It's meant to feel like nothing else in the calendar year. Nothing should have this kind of presentation. And I will say one thing, a lot of people dirt on WWE, and that's your prerogative if you want to, but no one does this like WWE. No one does this like WrestleMania. Like, it just felt like Mania. Like, it was, she's just, both of these women. Okay, here's my rant. I'm going to go on it. This to me, out of all of this stuff that we've ever had with WWE and with the women in the business and all of this, this was the first time it felt like a true evolution with women in the business. It was not a token main event. It was not, this is women doing this. It wasn't a first ever. It was just the two biggest stars in the industry going one-on-one for the Women's World Championship. That's what it was. And that to me is what I always wanted with women. I didn't want first ever of this. Yes, it's a part of it. And it's fun to have the first ever women's this, the first ever women's this. But it did not once did you hear first ever. Not once did you hear two women in this spot is so, oh my God, bizarre. Look how special this is. It was just a wrestling match that deserved to be in the spot that it was in with the time that it was given. Because going into that WrestleMania, I personally don't think there was a better story than Becky and Bianca. It was simple. It was about two things. It was about the championship, and it was about getting one up on your opponent. It's very 101 pro wrestling, and it works very well when it's done perfectly. And these women did that. And the match to me was near flawless. And every time that there was a botch, I hate that word too, you certainly didn't know that it was a mistake because they made it work. The only time that I think there really was an accident was when Becky did a molly go round and got a little caught and
kicked her in the face.
Kicked Bianca right in the eye. But it made it brutal. But everything about that, the crowd in that match was just unmatched. It was just, I mean, I just have nothing but praise for that match. I think it's truly one of my favorite matches that I've seen in a very long time. I just, I watched that match again last night. And I mean, I have just all the praise in the world for that match. That it just was on the edge of your seat. It was good guy versus bad guy. And that's saying something because 3 years ago, Becky Lynch was in Bianca's spot. And we truly thought we would never boo Becky because, like, how? Like, she's just cool as fuck. And she's taken everything about that and turned it and been like everything that she despised when she was the man. It's just a perfect story and a perfect match. And I truly just adored that from start to finish. But there's my rant on that. You go for it.
No, I very much echo what you're saying. I thought it was the best match of the WrestleMania 2 nights. Yeah, I thought from the start to finish, including the entrances, it didn't miss a beat. It didn't miss a beat towards the end of it. And I watch these I have people that when I watch wrestling, I clearly have people that I like over the others. But like I wanted Bianca to win. And I was so invested. And I rarely get like this, especially when I'm watching it like with somebody in my house. But like by the end of that match, I was like, come on, Bianca. Like, let's go, Bianca. Like, come on. And then when she won, I was like, yeah, like I
I was up for my seat, like she fucking did it.
I was like, let's go. I do like this idea of, so last year Bianca beat Sasha. This year she beats Becky. Next year, I think she should beat Charlotte. Like I want her to be like
go through
the horsewoman
killer,
run through them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because she is being treated at that level. Bianca officially 2 years in a row wins a title at Mania. She, to me, that is WWE saying, yeah, she is at the top with these other women. This is where she is now. Yeah. So I think that would just be a cool thing for her to just kind of
obviously feuded with,
yeah, exactly. And I just think I loved everything about it. I agree with you. You said enough, so I'm gonna, but I fully agree. I thought, and we said last week, I said I think this match has the chance to be the best match of the show.
Yeah,
if they're given the time, And I love the beginning, how they played into the SummerSlam stuff.
Yeah,
because obviously most of us are probably like, they're not going to do this again. But in the back of your mind, you're like, they could. And
it was very, it was just very well
so
done.
Right away, you're like, oh shit. And then you're like, okay, we're getting a match here. And then
that was like just, edge of my seat wrestling.
Yeah.
I get really into wrestling. I'm a very person that just like jumps up and I'm like standing like, oh my God. Like I love that. That's my favorite part of wrestling. But like, my favorite part is like, because it's WrestleMania, there's obviously people here that don't watch wrestling all the time. They're also into it and they're like, yes, fuck yeah. Like, listen, you and me are very similar. A lot of people listening to this will be very similar. We like bad guys because they're telling us not to like this person, so therefore we're saying fuck you. We're rebellious. That's what wrestling fans are. But in this instance, I like when they work me to get me to go for the good guy, I'm all in. And I'm just all about it. And that match was just it was just a flawless match. My favorite part about everything is that last year when Bianca beat Banks, she had this title raise and she was like, oh my God, I did it. Like, I'm the champion. This year she raised the title and she's like, had this like serious look on her face. Like, I did it because I'm better. Like, she wasn't like a shock. She was like, no, I'm that bitch right now. I am that bitch that beat Becky Lynch because that's who I am. I'm just better. And that to me is just progression. Like, she is just on a trajectory of just being like, the best ever. I am not even kidding when I say this. I said this on Twitter. I said this to people, and some people are going to be like, you're whatever. I'll take it. I don't think there's a better performer in the world right now than Bianca Belair. I don't think there's a better big time.
She's on the short list. Yeah, she's on the short list, if anything.
To me, the best in the world right now. The stuff that woman can do is insane. Like, she's an alien. Like, how do you do all this stuff? That finish where the rock bottom, the flip out, the KOD was flawless. It was a flawless finish, and the crowd stood up.
Lost their mind. Oh yeah, their mind.
It was just she went from, Bianca's been on this kind of since Royal Rumble. When she won, actually, I'll say since her original feud with Bayley, just before the Royal Rumble, she was kind of on this up, and we're like, this could be something really, I think we all knew with Bel-Air, even in NXT, we're like, she's going to be something really special one day. We didn't know what the level was, but she's treated correctly. She's like money. She's just money.
Oh, yeah.
And this kind of like steady, she won the Rumble, kind of with it. There was obviously no fans. We got to WrestleMania, and she kind of got to this kind of spot and we're like, whoa. And then SummerSlam happened and everyone got angry, rightfully so. But without that, we wouldn't have got this. So the story was perfect. That's why we need to calm down sometimes. I know WWE has a weird track record, but they did this really well. I don't know if this was always the plan, and I don't know if the outrage changed the WrestleMania trajectory for Bel-Air and for Lynch. But we just kind of went on this kind of sail of like, oh my God, like, Bel-Air's getting hot again. She lost in 26 seconds and we still we're like, no, this is not the story that's going to be told for Bel-Air. And then kind of we went through and did everything. And she's kind of at this point now where you don't think she can get any higher, but I think there's still room for her to just keep going and going and going and going. And that's special because she hasn't peaked, I don't believe.
No.
It's just a special talent. She's just special.
What I think is crucial here is they need to give her a big feud right out of the gate right now that she wins. They don't do it all the time, but like if you look at like Mania track records and things like that, like after Mania, sometimes they put the champions in like these like just to get through feuds.
Perfect example: Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans. What was that?
Exactly. Like that Becky just won the belt, and that's what we're starting with. No.
No disrespect to Lacey Evans, but she was brand new. No. She was brand new.
Yeah,
we didn't care about her. And it kind of and then Becky went into this weird program with Seth, and it was just kind of like
if you think back to WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan, his first feud was Kane.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, at that point, like, yeah, dude, yeah, we get it. Kane's great, but like, no. Daniel Bryan just won the title. I don't want to see him feud with Kane. That's a month of me not giving a shit.
It's really weird because Bel-Air come out on Raw, and I was like, oh, here we go. Bayley's coming back. We can just run.
Well, that's why I was like, I was like Bayley or Asuka. I'm like, give me Bayley or Asuka. That was in my brain.
Even to a certain degree, within the spot she's in now, even Lacey, I was like, okay, like I understand it. Like it would have been certainly a better spot than what Lacey was in a few years ago. By the way, those feuds that people do like that, like they don't help it. That didn't help Lacey Evans, by the way. It certainly hurt Lacey Evans more than it helped her. So like it was just a weird spot for everybody. But yeah, it was weird because no one came out on. I mean, that's the sentiment. We won't talk too much on Raw after Mania just because nothing really happened, and that's a shame because they had a lot of momentum coming out of WrestleMania, I think, and
I thought so.
It just kind of started with what it started with, and then it just nothing really happened. But we'll talk about the one takeaway from the Raw after WrestleMania in a second. But Bianca and Becky, in my opinion, we're starting at the top here. It stole the weekend. The WrestleMania weekend. It was just the best match. The only other match that you could kind of rival it with on night one was the match that took place right after that. And
that was like the 2-match block where it was just like, oof, this is like
20-minute bangers and
A tier dominant.
And like I mean, Seth Rollins. We had a lot of praise for Seth Rollins last week because he built this match on his own, along with Kevin Owens, who built his match basically on his own. But in Seth's case, we did not know. Listen, here's the thing with WWE, and I guess it's a quality and a negative. It's a positive and a negative. WWE are in this spot where they disappoint a lot. So we did not, as much as we wanted to speculate and go, it's probably Cody, but you never really know with this place. There was no swerve. There was no nothing. Seth came out in what a fit. What a drip that was. Just, my God. I was like, damn, Seth's just looking like money here. Seth's great. I have no bad things to say about Seth Rollins. Some people can't stand the guy because of how he talks on Twitter. I don't have a problem with how he talks on Twitter. When people are like, oh, but he says WWE's the best in the world. I'm like, well, he fucking works there. He should think it's the best.
He should say that. Yeah,
shut up. Like, I don't understand. If you don't have to agree with the guy, you don't have to, but like, and he hates Dave Meltzer, and I also don't like Dave Meltzer, so I'm all about that. But Seth he oozes charisma. He's doing what I think is the best work of his career right now. I think it's untouchable what he's doing at this very moment. But then kind of the way that the entrance happened with the pyro and the lights dimming, and we're like, is this really going to happen? Like, we're all just kind of anticipating, and the anticipation built. Like, that moment was really special. Like that was a WrestleMania moment. I mean, not many people have really made their return at WrestleMania. You think the Hardys, and that was a cool moment, but it was less pageantry and more about like, it's just the fucking Hardy Boys. Like, lose your mind. This was the pageantry of WrestleMania. It was like this big epic thing, and it was surreal. Like 2 months ago, we were seeing that exact presentation on AEW, and it's the exact same thing here, and it's so night and day different because in an AEW world, Cody was hated, myself included. He just annoyed the shit out of me. He didn't fit in that world. But over here, it works differently because it's so different to everybody else on the roster. When AEW is more about like the nitty gritty pro wrestling, this is more about like the glitz and the glamour, and Cody fits here differently. But to hear Kingdom and just to have that kind of the rise up, the wrestling, there's only, there's more than one, whatever the fucking term is. Wrestling has more than one royal family, whatever it says. the pyro, everything. Like that moment was again chills. It was WrestleMania. The match was, I mean, you
Very
got
good.
Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins in there.
Yeah,
You're gonna
very,
have a
very
good
good.
match.
Yeah.
But just everything about that just felt big. And Cody went, he shedded it. We seen it. He had the Stardust cartwheel and the thing in it.
I love that he was kind of like, yeah,
He shedded it. It was like goodbye.
Yeah, that was him saying, yeah, I was here. Okay, we remember. All right, now this is real now. I'm this guy.
He went from what everything he did in that 10-year run with WWE prior 6 years ago, and he went from that to a world champion,
world class, world class main eventer in wrestling, and he came back. And you always have to say, like you said, you can never be certain when it comes to WWE, because at the end of the day, they do what they want, but they needed to present him that way. He needed to be presented exactly as the last time we saw him in AEW, because that's the Cody Rhodes that is a main event star. It's not the Cody Rhodes that was even before Stardust, who I loved. I loved dashing Cody Rhodes. I loved when he had the broken character, the disaster.
I love Stardust.
I like Stardust. Yeah, I was a Stardust guy.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a Cody guy. But you're right. I think Cody is the perfect, he fits both those worlds. You know what I mean? And I think he melds it together perfectly, but he does fit more in a WWE world than he does in AEW. But he was the guy that AEW needed to create AEW. So he went, he did what he had to do. He said that and I know we're going to talk a little bit about the Raw. He didn't really mention a ton about anything like that. He didn't talk about how he wanted to go and make wrestling a better place. That wasn't the angle they were going, which is fine. But when he first left, he said, I need to make wrestling a better place.
And he did.
He did. And then he's like, okay, and now I got to come back to honor my dad and do this.
He had multiple media, you know how they have media scrums and stuff like that. He had one the morning of night 2. I seen it on maybe Inside the Ropes or something like that. And he said, I have a 9-month-old and I need to think about other things other than just what is best in the terms of like the wrestling world. And he needs to think about Cody. He needs to think about Brandy, and he needs to think about his little one. And he said, I'm on an obscure amount of money, and now that's what my priority is. And he also said that he's doing it. He did the last 6 years for himself, but also for making wrestling better. Yeah. Now he said it's not about making wrestling better, it's about making Cody better. And this is how he feels it's necessary for him. He said it was a very easy, he said that on Raw too. He said it was a very easy decision. He genuinely did say that in the media. He said this was easy, but he just chose to remain silent because of all the speculation. He wanted to build that. And he said it was like the worst kept secret in wrestling, but like, he seems very happy. And hey, at the end of the day, whether you hate WWE, whether you love WWE, whether you hate Cody, whether you love Cody, it doesn't really matter. He's making money. He's happy. And he's probably going to be a world champion in WWE, which is something that he never got to accomplish when he was there before. And I mean, hey, good for him. I have no bad things to say about any of it. And he had a great performance at WrestleMania. I mean, if you don't think Becky and Bianca was the match of the weekend or match of night 1, I'm sure that your alternative choice is this, and that's that's fine.
It was 1 and 1A or 1 and 2.
Yeah,
that's what it was. I loved everything about it. It was a moment. It's and it's gonna be weird at first. It still was seeing him on Raw.
Odd.
Like it's just weird to see. It's gonna take a few weeks probably to be like, all right, cool. But just the way it went down, it was like, yes, this is surreal, but it's also like, man, this is just weird.
Yeah,
I never,
you hear that music and you associate that with Dynamite.
They calling him in the entrance, the American Nightmare. Like it's all of it, and it's like
he is what we seen against Sammy Guevara in the ladder match. Like it's exactly the same character, same gear, same presentation, same music.
He rose up. He was in a different entrance, rising up. Like it's like
he feels like a big deal, and I hope that stigma stays with him. Because it's cool to have the freshness of it. And once it settles in, that's when we can really judge what Cody's going to be in WWE.
Yeah.
But I think they have to be aware. And Cody was even asked this, and he says, "I am aware of this, but it's not my responsibility to do this. But it's WWE's responsibility to go, hey, if you come from over here, you can still be what you were, and you can work it over here, and you can be a world champion. To get more talent that are killing it over here, listen, I don't care what any wrestler says. Money does speak. It's your job. And if WWE were to come at you with so much money and they're saying, hey, you have the creative platform to do what you're doing here. We want to get your presentation a similar feel. We want to keep your name the same. They're going to have to. Cody Rhodes is a deal-changing superstar or wrestler, whatever you want to call them, for everybody in the business. Think about that. Because if they go, well, if Cody's getting offered this, then why can't I keep my name? Why can't I keep my presentation the same? Why can't I be presented in a big deal? That has to be negotiated at some point with the MJFs of the world, with the Chris Jerichos of the with the Wardlows
of the world,
the Wardlows, the Scorpio Skies, the Jade Cargills, Britt Bakers, the blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
you have to believe that it's no matter what they say, no matter what but you don't believe a single word that comes out of any professional wrestler's mouth. We should learn that by now with wrestling. You never ever say never. We just seen what we're going to talk about in a minute. Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestle at 57 years old when we thought that would truly never happen again. So don't come at me with that. Oh, but Kenny Omega would never leave WWE.
Well, here,
We don't know that.
So, look at, I'm not going to speak for. I've never wrestled, so I'm not going to speak for most wrestlers. But I would say that the majority of these guys and gals that are doing this, whether they're in New Japan, Impact, wherever, AEW, WWE, when they were growing up and they were like in wrestling and they were like, hey, I want to be a wrestler, they wanted to be a WWE superstar.
They wanted to be at WrestleMania.
They wanted to have a WrestleMania match. They wanted to be a WWE superstar because we all did. If you're a wrestling fan, you all thought about that.
It's impossible to say that it's otherwise because AEW has been around for 3 years. It's impossible to believe.
Correct. No, and
when you were 6 years old, what was on television? Oh, Raw. Raw was on television.
Exactly. It was WWE. That's what it was. You know?
Sure.
And
okay, in 10, 20 years, that may change, and that's fine.
Correct.
But for now, for everybody in this generation of wrestling, we all grew up on that. For the most part, there's going to be the odd ones that were like, I didn't watch WWE, but you at least were aware of what was going on. You knew who Triple H was. You knew who Stone Cold was. And it is really cool. But Cody had a great time. Before we talk about Austin, I do want to mention the opening match, Rick Boogs, unfortunate injury.
Terrible.
Just a bad timing. Because they were in a cool spot. I didn't think the SmackDown Tag Team titles was going to go on first, and I think they really could have killed it. And obviously, I think the finish was obviously
they had to rush the finish because that was just unfortunate. But like when I saw that was going first, I was like, oh, that doesn't seem like an exciting match to get the crowd kicked off. But that entrance with Shinsuke and unbelievable, the crowd was eating that shit up. That crowd was eating that shit up. So Boogs is over. It just stinks. It just stinks that had to happen. You know, it's unfortunate, very, but you know, hopefully he'll rehab. He'll come back, and when he gets back, you might have a guy that people have been like, oh yeah, I remember this guy. I liked him. And then
cool
you never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an unfortunate situation, I guess you could say. In it was just unfortunate what happened to Rick Boogs. We'll talk about Charlotte and Ronda. We knew the build for this was not great. We didn't have a lot of I had very mixed expectations because I knew what they did at Survivor Series. I think we talked about that last week. But I will say is that I don't think this match was bad. I thought it was just fine.
I would say so.
It was fine. I didn't think it was anything really, like it didn't stink up the joint or anything like that. They didn't have big deal entrances. Like it didn't feel like a WrestleMania. What was at one point, I guess, scheduled to be the main event. I was going to say,
like, that would have been no way that match
could
have main evented.
I was adamant that Ronda Rousey was going to win, and I'm a Charlotte guy, so I was happy that Charlotte won. She won with a big boot, of all things. It was just, listen, it was a fucky finish. That was the only fucky finish they really had on the entire night one, which is a good thing. And listen, I hate how some people get in the mindset of like WrestleMania has to be the end all for every feud. It's like, no, well, Raw's on the next day or the
No,
next
yeah,
night.
no, I
It
think
has to
this
keep
is
going.
continued.
So it
Yeah,
has to,
because
some things can't, not everything can have a bookend at WrestleMania. Like some things have to progress. And, listen, do I want to sit and have to deal with a Ronda Rousey Charlotte program for too much longer? Not necessarily. No, I don't. This does add an extra layer to it, and what they can build off of here will be, at least I will be interested in this act of like, can we at least step this up a little bit? Can we at least get this better? The problem is that I just don't care for Ronda Rousey, and I don't have that I don't have that undeniable feeling of like, I want Rousey to be champion. I kind of want the opposite of that. So I am glad that Charlotte retained, but I guess it's just inevitable before Ronda Rousey is champion. It's just kind of
yeah, I
prolonging
would,
the inevitable. But it was,
yeah,
the match was, if someone asked me how the match was, I'd just go, it was fine. It was nothing bad. It certainly
hmm.
wasn't their Survivor Series match. They've done a lot better, but Ronda's not the same performer that she was. She's a step below Charlotte. That's for damn sure. The problem in this match I didn't have was definitely not Charlotte. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. It was just like,
Yeah, I mean, it was very average. The way that it went down with, there were a couple times where, Ronda had Charlotte tapping out, but the ref was down. Ronda at one point had Charlotte pinned, but the ref was distracted or was doing something.
yeah.
There were a couple times in the match where it was clear that Ronda should have won, if not for, like you said, like funky, like fuckery a little bit. So it's one of those things where this is going to continue. I would think it probably, and I know this might not make everyone thrilled, but it probably ends at SummerSlam, I would guess.
It doesn't mean that Ronda and Charlotte are going to wrestle every week.
No,
Charlotte
I
will fight
mean,
other people and like screw her out of it. But I think the
Yeah.
idea is to get heat on Charlotte and to get sympathy for Ronda. And I just don't know if that's going to work.
I don't either.
We never know. We could be completely
We
talking
could
out
be
of our
wrong.
ass.
I don't see people liking Ronda Rousey enough to have her, like, she's just not a babyface. She's just not.
Turn her in
You
a
should
heartbeat
turn
and
her.
she'll be great.
Yeah.
Say
And I think at
wrestling's
the end,
fake. Say wrestling's stupid. I'm a legitimate.
Yeah.
I want that though, because coming from her, it pisses me off. I'm like, what the fuck do you like? Fuck you. But like, that's the reaction I want. I want people to hate her because she's easy to hate. Because she is. We know there's an element of truth to it. Because I'm like, well, she did tap out all of these women and she did fight in the UFC. She has a legitimate background, and like, that works as much as it pisses people off. She is telling an element of truth. Like, do I agree that wrestling's fake? No, but I can understand why she thinks it is, because she come from a real world. Like, it just works. I'm not saying that I want Charlotte as a babyface, because I don't think that would work. But I think the end all be all is these two don't need to be interacting.
No, I think, Ronda's going to get the title. And then I think the end game is Ronda's going to be the heel going into WrestleMania next year against the man, Becky Lynch, like the baby face Becky Lynch. And I think that's where they're going. You necessarily, I guess, if you want to, she can still be a baby face, I guess, when she wins the title against Charlotte. And then you could turn her heel as she's the champion fighting the next whoever, you can
matter.
Yeah. I just
insert woman A here, insert woman B here.
And we talked about it a little bit last week. I just feel like Charlotte, and you and me are both pro Charlotte people. Charlotte is respected, but she's not liked enough she's not liked enough for the crowd to be like, we're going to really root for Ronda to be a good person, because it's not going to work. It's just not going to work.
Charlotte won. It was what it was. This will continue. Before we talk about the main event, is there anything else you want to touch on with night one? I think we kind of covered everything we need to cover.
Well, I need to preface this by saying that the individual is a piece of trash, and I don't support things he does, but I really did enjoy the Miz and Logan Paul versus the Mysterios.
Oh yeah. We need to talk about that match, because that match was really, really good. Again, personal feelings aside about Logan Paul.
I'm not a fan of him personally.
I will say this about Logan Paul. while I don't,
he's pretty good at it, right?
yeah, he's a natural. He knows. Did you see Jake on the kickoff too? I was like, fuck, you're a natural at this as well. They
I
know what
know.
they're
Yeah.
doing. Logan
yes,
Paul,
they do.
the moment, okay, so Logan Paul did some stuff. He did the split. I'm like, clearly this boy is athletic. Like, he's a big dude. Like, he looks the part.
The gear looked
get it.
good. Like,
he obviously gets pro wrestling, and and as much as people hate him, he's a bigger star than pretty much everyone in that ring. No offense to anyone. Like, everyone knows who Logan Paul is. He's got a very teenage following. That demographic is, and again, he's not a great role model for multitude of reasons, but as a performer, that moment when he did the Three Amigos and he got up on the top rope, I'm like, he knew what he was doing. I'm like, you understood your assignment right here. He's a very natural person to dislike, which makes me very nervous for what's coming up next for him. But he knew what he was doing. He's a very athletic young man. I don't know if he's younger than me. I say young man, but he's probably older than me. He has a look about him. I'm like, I get it. Like, I understand. You look at him and you're like, I want to punch you in the face, which is a good thing in pro wrestling. Like, he's got that hateable aspect about him. He got a reaction. He did a beautiful
that crowd when he did the Eddie stuff. When he did
Texas,
the Three Amigos,
bitch,
and then he did the shimmy.
He knew what
being
he was doing.
who he is. Oh, that crowd would have jumped the railing if they knew they wouldn't get like that crowd was. F you, buddy. Fuck you.
And he
like,
did
you know
it
what I mean?
Flawlessly, by the way.
Oh man, yeah, it was. At that moment, I was like,
get the job. I'm surprised he didn't get the pin. But Miz got the pin. I have nothing bad ever to say about the Miz. He knows what he's doing, incredible. And he's a company man, and he just is any situation the Miz is put in, it's 110%. And there's not a lot of stuff that he does that's poor. It's pretty good. I'm not saying the Miz is out here doing fucking suicide planches, and Miz is a very safe wrestler, and that's not a bad thing. When's Miz really, other than his injury last year, Miz really has never been hurt. He never hurts anybody. Brian said it years ago on Talking Smack. He is a safe worker. He is a WWE bubble wrestler, and guess what? That's a good thing. He is a man that's going to be wrestling for a long time because he has saved his body from doing crazy shit for all these years. And any situation he's put into, I just think Miz is in it. It's going to be probably quality. And he was the perfect person to be with Logan Paul. Of course, he turned on Logan Paul at the end of the match. I do want to say Ray and Dominic's gear was really cool with like the American.
I also thought that this was some of the best Dominic has looked too. Like, I just thought the match itself, it was quick. It was like 12, 13 minutes, not long. Though. It was good. Yeah. Everyone looked good. Dominic Ray got his shit in. Dominic looked good. I mean, I think he's
I go like this with young. Dominic. I'm like, do I like it? Do I think he's really good?
Young, but I think he has a chance to be a star.
Well, he's got it in his blood. We get it. Like, I get what he can do. And then
once Ray, if Ray retires, and especially if Ray gives him the mask, like he has said publicly he wants to do, like, I think Dominic has real, like, legitimate potential to be something in WWE.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Dominic once Ray is done.
Once
and
Ray's
do
gone.
We care? Do we actually care about Dominic, or do we care about Ray? Because Ray's
I wouldn't
one of
be
those
shocked
wrestlers
if, like,
that we just love, undeniably love. But do we love Dominic?
I wouldn't be shocked if for at least a little bit, like after Ray were to retire from in-ring, that he's still there with Dominic, maybe like as a manager, like for a little bit until Dominic is maybe more established. And then Ray's like, my son's good. I'll pop in occasionally, but I'm going to take a back seat here. He's all right. You know,
Ray, listen, I was saying this to the people that I was watching WrestleMania with when Ray come in and got a hot tag at some point or something. And I was like, it's ridiculous that Ray can still wrestle at the pace that he wrestles at. He's been doing it for a long time. We all remember him in WCW, remember him all throughout WWE. It's ridiculous that Ray can still move. And some of the stuff that Ray... Listen, it's no secret that Ray's had a lot of injuries, and Ray is not what he used to be, Halloween Havoc 97 or 96, whenever it was. 96, 97? Whatever it was.
97.
One of them.
97.
The late 90s. It's no secret that he doesn't move like that. You can see it, but like the stuff that he is still able to do at that level and that quality, he shouldn't be able to do anymore with 8 knee surgeries and multiple shoulder surgery. It's like, what the hell are you doing, Ray? And we know that his window is probably small it's probably not like he's going to be wrestling for 10 more years. Like, he's got a couple more years in him, and it's kind of now just kind of trying to get the steam and the love from him onto Dominic. And I do like that they're not rushing that. They've kind of kept it at a slow pace, and we're watching Dominic grow up in every sense of the word in front of us, which is only going to be better in the long run for Dominic.
I agree.
But we'll see what happens. But yes, that match was really good, and we'll see what happens with Logan Paul going forward. But to cap off night one, Kevin Owens came out being a piece of shit that he is. Listen, it's not, we always cheer Kevin Owens, but in this situation, I was like, I hate Kevin Owens right now. Fuck you, Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens show, we seen him in wrestling gear. I think we all were under the impression, like, it's main eventing. This is going to be somewhat of a match. Like, we didn't know if it was going to be a ding-ding official match, if it was just going to be a big, we didn't know. They did it really well. Austin came out to a tremendous reaction, as only Austin can. The KO show barely started, and it was like, no, let's get down to business.
He's kicking the stuff over as he's going to do and it's just like,
it was just Austin. It was Austin 101. It was just, it was a really special moment, and we'll talk about Austin on night 2 as well in a minute, but it felt like this is my swan song. This is I'm out here. Which is a good thing. He is 57 years old. Still looked great. Still moved around great. That man was taking bumps on. I was like, okay, if he's in a match, he's not taking bumps, but he was taking bumps.
That suplex onto the concrete. Come on now.
That, he looked
like
good.
You said, he did. I think the only time, like, slightly where I was like, oh, he's old, is when he was doing stomping a mud hole. He was doing a little slower.
He's a little
slow, and I was like, all right, he's got the bad knees. He's old, but he still made it work. It looked great.
Owens was bumping his ass off for Austin.
And I know I've said it before on here, and I know you know. Can we just please praise that man, Kevin Owens? He is so friggin' good. He is so
good.
Friggin' good.
Like,
and
fantastic.
He deserves a world title reign soon.
Or if he wants a 6-month break, let that man have a vacation. Pay for his flights to Greece. Like,
whatever they've given him, that guy makes it gold. Absolute.
He worked with himself for 5-6 weeks against a whole fucking state.
Yeah, on Raw, he came out and he cut that promo, and he said, "I am one of the all-time greats," and he's 100% correct.
We may as well mention the elephant in the room. We won't spend too much time on this, but Ezekiel came out. I'll just say this: a beard is a very special thing for a lot of men. It's like if you shaved your beard, I'd be like, "Get this man off of
you wouldn't know who I was. Like, you would be like, that's unrecognizable." As
a man with very trimmed up facial hair, but if I don't have facial hair, I look like a small child. It can make or break some men, and it can make or break. Well, it's not the same man, I guess. And
we're not going to dwell on it, but like, Kevin Owens was fantastic in this. Elias? No. And he goes, no. And Kevin Owens just is like, I don't know. He was so good. Kevin Owens was just excellent.
One thing I will say,
gets fed up and leaves.
I will say one thing. At least they're not ignoring it. Because sometimes they just repackage someone and it's like, this is clearly this person, but they just kind of like don't talk about it. Like, I will say that. But
you want to talk about a repackage? Has there been more of a drastic repackage of that? We're talking completely clean shaven, bright colors.
Oh.
We're talking a guy that wore jeans and a wife beater and played guitar with a dark brooding.
Please tell me that. What was wrong with Elias?
There was nothing wrong with Elias. He was over. They just gave up on the character.
Why? It was different. It was cool. He didn't have to wrestle.
At one point, he was arguably one of the most over people on the show. Anytime he would strum that guitar, the crowd was ready for it. And the crowd was like, all right, cool, let's go. Whether he was a good guy, and he was better as a bad guy and they made him a good guy, but like, he eventually found his footing as the good guy too. Oh, there she is,
Queen Giddy. That's what I was doing. I was listening, but I was like, are you going to come up or not? Because she was trying to get up on my lap. She's probably going to smell my McDonald's. I had McDonald's. This isn't sponsored by McDonald's, but hey, McDonald's, if you're listening, we will take all of your money. We'll do it. We love McDonald's. It's our favorite fast food. Isn't that right, JPJ?
100%. Yeah, the favorite.
Easily.
I'm a big fan.
Breakfast. So is Giddy. Look at my cat.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Yeah. drive through.
Delish.
Let's go. But yes, was what it was.
It was just a choice. It was like
choice.
He came out first, and I was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And then all of a sudden, once they changed the camera view and I saw his face, I was like, "Oh, that's Elias. That's Elias."
I thought it was LA Knight for like a brief second. I was like, "Is that LA Knight?" And then I was like, "Oh, thank God it wasn't," because that would actually require calling up someone from NXT on that Raw.
Well, we did get somebody from NXT on that Raw.
What, Dolph Ziggler?
you have
Braun Breaker, yeah.
Again, I know this is going on a tangent. We got to get back to Mania, but like you have this match at Stand and Deliver, in which Dolph Ziggler retains and beats Braun Breaker clean, no bullshit, clean. And then 2 days later, Braun Breaker magically just earns a rematch and wins the title on Raw. Like, I don't know. I know more eyes will watch Raw than Stand and Deliver, but like, why? That just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense.
I didn't watch Stand and Deliver at like 2:30 in the morning here. Will I watch it?
It was good. It was good, but I mean, you don't have to go out of your way to watch it, but it was good.
I might watch it, maybe. I don't know. I do appreciate the new championship for the women. That kind of look cool. I have no interest in NXT. We're recording as NXT is on right now, and I couldn't give two craps that and even JPJ's the same though. I'm like, do you mind recording in NXT? He's like, not really. I don't care.
Yeah, no.
It's just not. It's not the show for me. Okay, but yeah, night one, we enjoyed Austin and Owens. It was a great time. We got the beer bash. It was a cool way to end night one. And I left night one going, I don't know if night two is going to be any good, because that was near perfect, really. It was a near perfect WrestleMania. If you capped night one off, that was an all-time WrestleMania. And I was like, I don't know if you can continue this momentum. Night two started with a belter of a Raw Tag Team title match. That triple threat tag team title match was just fun.
It was my favorite match. I think it was the best match of the best match of the night. I thought
it was. There's not much to say about it, just because it was, chaos.
We've seen it before. Yeah. And we saw it. We've seen it before too. With the like, it was.
Also, I will say the start of WrestleMania was really nice with Triple H coming out. Obviously, he retired, and one of the all-time greats, leaving the boots in the ring, because obviously he's one that we can actually say will never wrestle again, because it's not neck, it's not back, it's not shoulders, it's not concussions, it's your heart. You can't fuck with your heart. So like it was cool to see him one last time do that entrance, and I wasn't expecting it either. I was like, oh
no,
fuck,
I'm glad he got that. I'm glad he got that moment though. He deserves it, clearly one of the all-time greats. I'm glad he got that moment, and I liked I like the welcome to WrestleMania. That's such a staple. Like, you remember
it's such a Triple H thing to do.
And like Vince, that famous welcome to WrestleMania 3, and then that's always been other people doing welcome to WrestleMania. And if Triple H is gonna be that guy, it was just awesome. And I'm glad he got the full entrance. I'm glad he spit the water. He did
one
have
last time,
but he kind of got a little jacked up and excited, and like it was just a good, heartwarming moment to see him get that moment. You know what I mean?
It weirdly felt like this WrestleMania, which we'll touch on it again later, but it felt like this WrestleMania was kind of a goodbye to that era. It really did, without saying it. Taker was in the Hall of Fame. We had Austin, Triple H. Like, it felt like a little bit of this is really the end for this, because they're getting older and they can't wrestle anymore. It's not like Triple H is going to wrestle again. Taker said never say never, but I truly don't think he'll ever wrestle again.
I don't think so.
Never going to.
That was the end.
That was the end for Austin. This was a goodbye in a sense. Sure, we'll see them pop up,
of course,
at some point, but it did truly feel like this is it for that time, and we need to put a cap on this because we've tried to so many times. But it did feel like a little bit of that era was really ending. Triple H was one of the last, other than a few others, that was wrestling in the time where I was growing up watching wrestling, and it's all coming to a crescendo, and it's beautiful, and it's bittersweet, but it's like, it's a good thing that these people are able to be healthy. But yeah, that Raw Tag Team title match was a lot of fun. Night 2 did a really good job of like going at a really nice pace. I really liked the pace of Night 2 and how it felt. Omos and Bobby Lashley was exactly how I thought it was going to go.
I will say this though. I am very happy with the match itself was the match itself was fine. I am very happy with the booking decision, because I was nervous that Bobby Lashley was going to just put Omos over.
Me too. And
I'm
cool thing
very
on Raw
happy
with
yeah,
MVP.
And this is what
because like he needs a mouthpiece. Yeah.
Yes, he can't. He does.
Not a great talker.
I still don't see it with Omos, but he's not a great talker.
I don't love big guys, but I see it physically. I'm like, I get it. He's a big man. Oh, breaking in.
Did you hear that? Could you hear that?
All slightly.
Yeah. Sirens were just jetting by me.
Someone
did something bad. But no, I'm glad they had Lashley go over because I was nervous that they were going to bring him back as a good guy just to have Omos beat him, and that's his signature first WrestleMania. No, I'm glad they went the way that they went. The match was but I'm glad Bobby won.
Yeah, that's all. We don't really need to touch on that too much more. We'll spend some time on this one because it irked a lot of opinions out of people. Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville damn near stole the weekend.
It was the most enjoyable match. It wasn't the best match, but for me, that was the funnest. I've had watching a match. Everything was unbelievable.
It celebrated everything wrestling is because wrestling is fucking stupid, and it was that. It was unreal. You remember WLC?
WLC is a great match.
It was that level of fun.
Yeah,
it was just fun, like that finish, the mousetraps, all the jackass
party.
People.
Yeah, they get the party boy
and like the
wee man body slamming Sami Zayn.
And then Sami Zayn just fucking drilled him in the face with his boot. Johnny Knoxville, obviously he's fearless, but he did a very listen. Sami Zayn is on the same level of Kevin Owens. He's worth every dollar that you paid for him with this new contract. He is a godsend. He can be put in any role and he makes it work. Like this match was so much freaking fun because Sami Zayn is so fun. The bowling ball and all the penis things with the tongue, like just everything about that was just so fun. And it just, again, for someone who loves the silliness of wrestling, I love everyone knows that my favorite thing in wrestling is a wedding. So you can imagine that this is just the silliness. Wrestling is stupid. We believe in Irish whips. We believe in dead men. We believe that people can shoot fire out of their hands. Like, it's dumb. Wrestling is stupid. And this is just exactly what wrestling is. I had so much fun. It was the funnest match of the weekend in terms... it was way better wrestling, but like... This was just fun and silly, and you didn't have to think about it. Like, it just was, took it what it was for face value. The giant mousetrap at the end was so absurd and stupid, and I loved it. And props to Johnny Knoxville. It didn't work at the start, and only he could know how to make that work. And he fucking hit it, and he did the thing, and he won.
Yeah, it was I agree. It was the most enjoyable match of the weekend. Like, from start to finish, I was just laughing. I was having a good time. We talked about it last week. You said like Jackass you weren't super into. I was super into Jackass when it was popular at its height, and I was losing my shit. I was watching it with someone who has just recently started watching wrestling with me, but I wouldn't say that they're into wrestling. And that whole match, they were as invested in that match as I was. Like, we were equally having a friggin' ball watching that match.
It was with people that don't watch it. They just loved it. They're like,
I've told my friends, stupid. I'm like, you need to go out of your way and just watch. It's 15 minutes. Just watch it. Like, it is
so fun,
incredible.
It
like,
was just action packed from start to finish because you had so many moments in that match that it just was. I had no problem with. I don't care that Sami Zayn lost. Couldn't give two shits. It makes it funnier when Sami Zayn loses more than I like when he wins.
Oh yeah,
he's just a great time, and everything about that was just. It was just a love letter to professional wrestling. That is that's how I viewed that match. For all the reasons that I love Bianca and Becky, this was the opposite of why I love wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, it was the two extremes of why I love. That was just pure storytelling, emotion. Beautifulness of wrestling as an art, and this was wrestling as an art, but wrestling of its comedy regions, and it's because wrestling is funny. Wrestling is really funny when it can be, and perfect people. It was like two polar opposites of human beings, and if you're gonna do celebrity matches, which I think always has a place at WrestleMania, people are like, this person should be on WrestleMania over Johnny. Nah, fuck you. WrestleMania is a casual fans wrestling wet dream. That's what WrestleMania is. It's to get everyone to watch, and Johnny Knoxville is way more important than,
and I will say,
Ricochet or Finn. I hate saying that because I love those people, but he is. More people know who Johnny Knoxville is
to the general public. Yeah, for the general public,
what WrestleMania
people know
is.
Correct. And I think the last 2 years specifically, they have set the bar when it comes to celebrities at WrestleMania, because Bad Bunny last year was amazing. And then we saw Logan Paul and Johnny Knoxville this year knock it out of the park. Knock it out of the park. So if this is what WrestleMania is going to, because, you know, when I was younger, celebrities have always been a big part of WrestleMania, but the celebrities always didn't wrestle. It seems like now, at least the last couple of years, the celebrities involved in WrestleMania are wrestling. Like they're part of the show. But if this is what it's going to be, you can make an argument that Bad Bunny Priest match last year was arguably one of the better top matches of WrestleMania weekend.
I wouldn't angry. People said that the tag match or the Johnny Knoxville match, for that matter, was their favorite match of the weekend. I wouldn't argue.
I cannot argue. No, you can't. So if this is the bar that they're setting for celebrities at WrestleMania, I'm all for it. I am all for it because it's been excellent.
Yeah,
it's been excellent.
It was great stuff. Women's tag team title match was, I don't like the way that they did it because it wasn't 4 people in the ring at once like they had with the triple threat. But the match,
it was
picked
still
up.
good.
It picked up a lot, and they did a really good job. One thing I will add on that match is that, or 2 things. The Rhea Ripley Liv Morgan gear was very sexual, and even I was like, I get this. There's a very weird sexual energy between those two.
I would say.
There is, and they come up with the whip, and I was like, "Oh man, this is the people are gonna have a field day."
As you saw on Raw, though, definitely breaking up. Rhea's gonna turn.
Yeah, let's just break up the tag teams because we have heaps of women's tag teams.
Exactly. Yeah, Rhea. It looks like I think Rhea might. I don't know if they'll go the other way, maybe, and make like Liv a crazy-ish character. I don't know.
Zelina and Carmella are over. They're fucking.
Oh, they're done.
And then Corey and Carmella fucking humped each other, and it was weird as fuck. I was like, oh, they're horny.
There was a child there too. The father was like blocking her eyes. Like literally, there was a child was the first seat next to it, and the father jokingly, but the father was like, oh, and he like was covered.
They were tongue punching. They were having a good having a good old time. I mean, they're done. But the finisher of Naomi and Sasha Banks is fucking awesome. I love a good tag finisher. Also, I will say, the women served out for their entrances this year. The gear, the entrances, they took WrestleMania and like, Sasha Banks drive the fucking Ferrari or some bullshit, didn't she? I was like, what the fuck?
Unbelievable.
I was like, you just ooze. She is another person that just oozes coolness. Like, she's wonderful. And Naomi's great. I'm glad to see gold on Naomi. Sasha finally broke the WrestleMania curse. Finally broke that fucking losing streak. She's finally won a match. Are you seeing the emotion on her face? Like, and it had like, I don't know if you've seen in the .com exclusive with Tamina, and they had like a BAD, like bad reunion.
Nice.
Reunion.
That's cool. I didn't see that. No.
It's really just special, and they just seem to all get along, and that's cool. So, but that finisher that Naomi and Sasha did was cool.
Yeah, that was very good.
Fuck.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like, that's cool.
Was
I will say, we didn't mention on night 1, Drew kicked out of the fucking end of days. It happened.
Okay. Here's another. All right. Yeah. I thought that match over delivered.
Yeah.
I thought that I was like, I didn't give a shit about, I didn't give a shit about Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin. But
who did?
By the end of that match, I was like, good for Drew McIntyre. The crowd popped for him. He did the flip over the ropes, which he doesn't do all the time. So when he does it, it feels more special.
Yeah.
Because he was doing it every match for a while, and it was like, yo, you're 6'8", like that's a cool thing to see. Like, let's relax a little bit.
He did that.
But now that he hasn't done it for a while, he did it, and it was corny. But I like the thing at the end where he cut the ropes. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, oh shit, that's cool.
But like,
if you're an 8-year-old kid, you're losing your mind.
The crowd understood when he kicked out of End of Days, and I was like that was a big moment. Like now everyone's going to kick out of the end. That's everyone's going to kick out of it.
I hope not.
But I think he kicked out. That was years and years and years, and everyone was like, "He did it." I think everyone going into WrestleMania was like, "Well, this is Drew's moment this year. He's not getting anything too crazy.
He's got to get the moment in front of the fans.
He'll kick out, and he beat Happy Corbin, and Drew can move on." But we won't dwell on that too much. But let's get back to night 2. We'll talk about Edge and Styles, obviously, because we had very high expectations. I don't think they exceeded my expectations, but they met them.
No, it was good. Oh yeah, it was good. It was a very good match. It didn't
I think a lot of us.
It didn't. I would say it was a very good, like, solid match. It was the longest match of the night by far. I think it might have been the longest match of Mania total.
Maybe
time. It was like
Edge always gets a lot of time.
Yeah. And it was good. AJ had like that cut on his head.
Because he
Like
walked into the set.
he walked into the stage. So he was like bleeding coming down
I was
the
like,
ramp.
homeboy is ready.
Yeah, I was like, holy moly, what the hell happened there?
It was,
But
hey, let's just say this though. Like, we had expectations of like, we had 10 fucking foot erections for this match. Like, everybody
we thought
knew.
it was easily going to be the best match of the week. Like,
it met them. It met their expectations. It just didn't go above those.
Yeah.
The match was, no pun intended, phenomenal. Like, it was a great wrestling match. That suplex on the apron had me on like, Edge is going to die. Like, let's just, Edge is great. AJ Styles is great. And this match built to where we're going with this. Obviously, Damian Priest came out. There's a lot of rumors and stuff going around of who could join
stable. Yeah,
who could join this stable. There's been names thrown out: Rhea Ripley, Tommaso Ciampa.
I was just going to say a heel Rhea Ripley would be.
I personally said Shotzi would fit.
Oh, that would be good too. That'd be a good one.
Even I'll have a little left of field. I said an Alexa Bliss would fit that field. It could all work. I do like that. Edge is a shining light of WWE programming, and it gets the bump card down for Edge. Edge can kind of take a step back and just be like the veteran. And it's like, kind of like this new Brood, Ministry of Darkness kind of vibes. It all has this kind of thing, and it's cool. That fits really well. They had the story. But yeah, the finish was cool. I really enjoyed that match. I don't think that in anything we're saying means it was average or poor or bad. It was a great match.
No, it was a very good match. Yeah.
Those two level, it had to be great. Their great was their average. You know what I mean? Like, that's how good they are.
They walk
Edge's
into
entrance, by the way.
Amazing. I mean, I was just going to ask you, what did you think of the entrance? Very good. The fire at the beginning, it reminds you of the Brood.
He looks
I love the purple, and I think that was probably a tribute of sorts to Taker.
Probably.
Those are synonymous with Undertaker, purple, black.
It looked
I
good.
bet you Edge went to him and was like, can I take these colors? And Taker was like,
and it kind of felt like an evolution of the Brood Edge and where he's come from in 20-something years.
Yeah, and I think he should have a stable. I think he should have a stable of younger talent, even though Punishment, and I loved on how...
He said the Punishment, yeah.
Oh my God. Things like that are like...
Well, it's what Edge is. Edge is Edge is one of those true last talents that is the history of the business. Edge just gets the little things. Edge is a master of that. I don't think there's too many people that get the little things in wrestling better than Edge. I have all the praise in the world for Edge. But yeah, that match was a lot of fun, and I have it just built to where obviously this isn't done. That's not the last time Edge and Styles are going to wrestle. So I'm more than happy with where they're going with that.
I agree.
Pat McAfee and Austin Theory, my friend. Did they show up and deliver? My goodness. That was a lot of fun. I didn't think this match was going to be bad. We've seen Pat McAfee in NXT. I don't get the whole thing of like, we've seen it in NXT. Yeah, I get it. But not everyone's seen that. This is WrestleMania. This is a very different field. We didn't have to talk about that stuff because in WWE's land, sometimes that doesn't exist. And not only that did happen a little while ago. People are like, but we've seen it's not that. It is special. A lot of people have never seen Pat McAfee wrestle. So, like, he can do some extraordinary stuff. His entrance with Seven Nation Army playing, that was just a spectacle. It looked cool. It felt big. I'm like, Pat McAfee
The crowd was singing the song. He was over.
The Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, they showed up.
I think at one point during the match, I sent out a tweet, and I was just like, Pat McAfee was made for this shit. He was made for it.
I understand why people don't, like, if people get on him and, like, he's annoying. I get it. He is a very enthusiastic man. Yeah. But it's hard to, like, not look at him and feel his energy. Like, you feel that energy and you're just like, oh my God, he just has this infectious kind of outlook on everything. Like, you can tell that he's a fan of this. And also he's like, this is his dream. Like, he just wanted this.
Yeah, and we're talking about him in the match now. One thing that we didn't talk about when we were talking about Knoxville and Sami Zayn, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee in that match.
Oh, brilliant!
Michael Cole cannot contain himself. Like, he's laughing. McAfee is like, I love McAfee. I'm like, yes, but he's talking about, like, when Party Boy stripped down, he's like, oh, his cheeks are at WrestleMania. He's just like going, but
he's really. It's
just like, it was just, we forgot to mention this, so I wanted to mention it, but
WWE commentators have a tendency to not really relate to my generation. They feel like you feel like you're getting talked to by an old man. Pat McAfee doesn't feel like that. He feels like my buddies. He feels like how he says things that my buddies say. And that's missing in WWE commentary, and he does that really well with, obviously him and Michael are really good friends because Michael Cole was so passionate in that Pat McAfee match. That was his best work of the whole weekend.
Oh, I loved it. He was screaming, like you could tell he's like, I'm going to try not to be biased, but him
and Byron did a great job. I thought it would have been him and Graves when I was thinking about it, but him and Byron did a great job of that match. That match was really, really good. Austin Theory, personal feelings aside, we have to always disclaimer that with him, but he is a really good wrestler.
He's very good, and he's young, and he knows his role is. He knows that, and okay, I know we're going to talk about what happened.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a second, match,
but Vince McMahon came down to the ring and introduced him as a future Universal Champion. He's done that for one other guy.
And he was Universal
Did he say future Intercontinental Champion?
No, he said he said future
World Champion.
He said a future WWE World Champion. I remember that. And was Vince wrong?
No, it took a little bit. He had to. But Vince doesn't do that.
No,
Vince doesn't do that. And for him to come down and introduce a future Universal Champion, Austin Theory. Listen. And look at the fact that he's been on screen with Vince for the last 2 months tells you enough. But that right there should let you firmly know that Austin Theory is in the plans of the future of WWE.
He looks the part. I get it. He's
24
and change.
Ridiculous.
He's young.
He can talk.
He looks
good
the part.
Looking, good wrestler.
I get it.
It is what it. Yeah, of course.
I understand. There's a lot of baggage with him, and I'm not discrediting that. But that aside, he's very good at what he does, and he knows his role really well. Pat went over. Pat went over. Did Pat win over? Yeah, Pat won, didn't he?
Pat won, and then they made him look like a friggin' idiot right after.
Okay, we'll probably argue on this, but I had no problem with any of it. I had not a single issue with it. I thought it was funny. People are saying Vince is all like acting like Vince was a 5-star wrestler when he did. Vince has never been athletic. He's probably the most unathletic person I've ever seen in the ring. He's never been able to throw a clothesline, but now he's just in his 70s and he does it even worse. But like the end, I found it funny. I know I take wrestling for face value, and if you want to overanalyze it and do that, sure.
I'm not really,
but Pat McAfee is not a wrestler. He's not an active
but he could
talent.
Be, though.
Yeah, but he's not. That's the thing, though. He's not. He lost to Vince McMahon. I don't know. I have no problem. It built heat, and it made that moment so cool when Austin's music hit. We got to see that.
I guess my thing was you could have got to that. And I kind of called it like, I was sitting there and I'm seeing this. I go, well, I'm like, Austin will probably come out and get one last stunner on the old man for good,
And this is the end
I thought
that
was, exactly. Like, one more for the show, like one more. I just thought you had McAfee go over. The crowd was hyped for McAfee. When he won, the crowd was losing it. And then the crowd is excited. I just feel like you could have had that moment without it being an official match kind of thing. In the scheme of things, are we going to remember it? Maybe not. McAfee just beat a 24-year-old stud, and then he's going to lose in 2.5 minutes to an 80-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, it's
I understand your point, and I get it. I'm hearing it. I am on the team of I was fine with that. Would that be my first choice of happening? Probably not. But I have no issue, and I have taken no. To me, it was hilarious. He won.
It was
he hit him with he kicked a football 2 inches away from him and won. I'm like, what a fucking hilariously stupid finish.
It was. Look, at the end of the day, it was harmless, and I wasn't angry. It wasn't like I was one of those things where I was like, why did they do that? Like, not like that.
It's Pat
I'm
McAfee.
Just like,
if it was
I'm like
Finn Balor or something in there, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? But it's Pat McAfee.
To me, I'm like, you could have just jumped him and beat him up.
I get it. I understand what you're saying.
And Vince takes the shirt off and he's like, I'm gonna fuck him up here, and they're beating him down, and then you still get the Austin.
I get that.
One thing I will say before we leave. When Austin stunned McAfee.
Hold up, because I want to talk about these progressions of these stunners.
Okay.
So let's talk about the first one with Austin Theory was incredible. Like seriously, stunned Austin Theory, and Austin Theory
And
went fucking
like
10 feet
6
in
feet
the
in the
air.
air. Yeah,
It
literally
was
just
hilarious. Like the way Austin,
Yeah.
that was an all-timer. Like that's
Yeah.
rock level of hilarious. Stunners
Yeah.
are meant to be that move in wrestling that is just like, how ridiculous can you sell this? And Austin Austin Theory, that is, did a great job of selling that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Vince Stunner. To me, that was the greatest thing I've ever. That top
I was
Linda's.
laughing
You remember Linda McMahon's when she just kind of was just like,
Yeah, just drop down.
that
I was
fell.
crying
Austin
laughing.
nearly fell because Vince was like fucking. It looked
Vince,
like Vince tore his legs open.
He like stumbled into the ropes, and Austin's trying to like. Austin's trying to like get him come back over here, like he's trying to drag him, and then
Vince dropped, and his legs just went like his legs just went. His whole body.
I thought he tore both his quads.
So did I.
He just tore both his quads.
I could imagine backstage that they would have been shit, like pissing themselves laughing because it was that. To me, everyone's like, that was the worst. I'm like, yeah, but it was hilarious. That was my favorite thing that I've ever watched. It made everything that people were saying. I was just like, it doesn't matter. That moment happened, and it was going to be one of the greatest things that I ever remember about this WrestleMania is Vince just collapsing. Like Vince basically turned into dust. I was like, oh my god!
There was everything before it. Like he's like,
it was the
gut, couldn't like stay on his feet.
He had the beer. You would think, by the way, at this point, Vince would never accept beer from Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like Vince, bud, just stop accepting the beer. But they did the clink.
So good.
He did the kick, and then
he's just stumbling around.
He turned into jelly. He was like falling into the ropes, and he was like, Austin was laughing by the time he hit the stunner. Like Austin was like, this couldn't have went better. And Vince McMahon, by the way, never has taken a good stunner. You remember that first one? It was fucking god awful. But Vince is literally the most unathletic person I've ever seen in a wrestling ring, and it's hilarious. It's unbelievable. Like a man that's been around.
Did you see the video of Mick Foley laughing like we are?
Oh, Mick Foley was losing his mind. I could imagine every person that's ever met Vince in their life would have just been like, "This is the funniest thing in the world." Could you imagine Taker watching that backstage? He would have been.
I bet you Taker was probably, if he was still there in Gorilla, he was probably like, "What the fuck?" Vince came back, and they're all like, "What the fuck?"
Great job, Vinnie Mac. It just that really did feel like the last time we'll ever see those two on screen together in that capacity. And it is like a bit of like a thank you for everything that you ever gave. That's the greatest rivalry of all time, Vince and McMahon. Vince and Austin.
So good.
But that stunner. And then to top it off, he stunned Pat McAfee, and Pat McAfee spit his beer out in the middle of it, fell down, and then was on the floor drinking.
No, but the footage, that was the best part. He's on the floor. He's on the floor.
Did you see the video
from the stomach
of Pat McAfee on his plane? And he was fucked. He was hammered. He was like, "That was the greatest night I've ever had in my life." I was like, "Oh, this boy is hammered." But yeah, he's drinking beer on the floor, and I was like,
"Yeah, he's just like half unconscious." Just
so from the match to the matches to that was just. I thought it was just a thrill ride of fun. I really did. I enjoyed that whole thing. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, I guess it's now time to talk. We kind of covered everything, but the biggest
WrestleMania match. It was not that. I thought it was good though.
It was fine.
Yeah, they beat the crap out of each other. It was quick.
Was it quick?
I think Brock.
I don't think it was that quick. It was an abrupt ending.
Was it like 15? I think it was like under 15 minutes. It was quick.
It felt long.
I think so.
The pop out of the show. I don't know what the extent of that is. How real that was, but whatever.
And it looked like Brock also might have fucked up a rib of like he was like grabbing his
Brock's
side.
Been 110 going since November.
Yeah.
So I was expecting him. I knew he had to slow down at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Roman, listen, here's the thing. This is what made me really nervous. Roman, I don't think is hurt, but going out of WrestleMania, everyone was like, "Oh my god, is he hurt? Is he hurt?" They've put all their eggs literally now in one basket with Roman Reigns, that if he's hurt, they're fucked. They're so fucked because they've just put everything in. And rightfully so, Roman's great.
Of course, yeah, he's been unbelievable.
But like, I am glad that he won because I truly do feel, you never know with Brock Lesnar, you're like, "Oh, is Brock going to win?" I am glad that he won because I think he's on the trajectory of The Rock, and that's fine. But
I still don't think he needs the title for that though.
I know you don't, but I think they will.
I think But
regardless, the match ended very abruptly.
It did. It ended.
I didn't think it was bad though. I thought out of it.
No.
Hey, he finally beat Brock at WrestleMania. This was their third go round, and Brock's won both. So it was cool to see Roman win. He looks like a big deal. That moment when he was holding both the championships, looking at the camera, I'm like, you smug fuck. Like, you just look like $1 million right now. Again, they didn't really have big grandiose entrances. Like, the only big real entrances that were really special was Bianca, Becky, Edge, Sasha. Like, oh, McAfee, I guess.
McAfee had a big one.
But like, everyone else just kind of had like, they were just kind of did their shit.
Yeah.
I like when wrestling's over the top at WrestleMania. So like, I was a bit disappointed in that aspect. But again, I don't think anything on this show, out of the 2 nights, was bad.
Sheamus and Ridge Holland versus.
Oh, yeah, we forgot about that.
I want to talk about this.
That was too short to be bad.
I thought it was disrespectful.
Yeah, me too. Especially because they got bumped off night 1, and then
they got bumped off night 1.
I'd rather just not have it. Just don't.
And I get it. I'm not saying the New Day had to win that match.
No, me either.
But
I thought they should
that is
win
disrespectful to the New Day. 1 minute and 41 seconds. They're wearing outfits to honor Big E, who broke his fucking neck. And that's the best you can do
when they got cut from night 1. I was like, okay, it can just go to night 2. This is why I believe they should add matches on the kickoff. That would have been a perfect kickoff match. But
of course, it would.
Like, I remember that ending, and I was like, I wish they just got cut again. And they had that match on SmackDown.
I agree. I again, I think Sheamus and Ridge Holland was probably the right team to win that match if it would have happened regularly.
Yeah.
To me, that just seemed like that is just it's just disrespect. I can't think of a better word. I just thought it was downright disrespect. I'm like, New Day deserves better than that, especially. And again, Sheamus and Ridge Holland deserve better than that too. Just because they won doesn't mean that does them any good. I don't think that match did anybody any good.
Yeah.
No,
should have not had
especially it. Especially with what happened to Big E. They're wearing the outfits to honor. That was literally the only thing of the 2 nights where I was like, that was bullshit. That was bullshit.
Yeah, but again, it was too short to even give two cents to it. You know what I mean? It was just like, that just was just a blimp in the radar.
Yeah, it just didn't need to happen, you know?
But yeah, I did like their Big E gear. That was cool.
Yes, it was.
But yeah. WrestleMania in all in all, it was a great WrestleMania. They had so much momentum, and then we had Raw after Mania. It was kind of like, I remember where we are.
I thought the Cody promo to start the Raw was really good. I love the Dusty stuff. I am someone who has also lost his father, and I had a really good relationship with my father. So when I see Cody get emotional when he talks about Dusty, I can relate to that. Yeah. You know what I mean? To a certain level. And
Cody is very good at the.
Oh, he's great.
He gets you. You're like, oh, okay, Cody, I get it.
And so I related to it. I loved the idea of like, hey, you know, I haven't been here for 6 years, but like one thing that nobody in my family and one thing that my dad never did was get that title. And so I'm going to get that title, not just for my dad, but for me. I'm going to get that title because that's the one thing that's eluded my family in this wrestling business. I love that angle. And I think it's family and it's emotional and it's the way, you know, it's a strong story. And I thought that part of Raw was really good. And then there were other small
like
snippets
the Edge
that were
stuff
okay.
was good. Like
the
that
Edge
was
stuff
fine.
was good. I love that with Priest and things like that.
That Roman
Bianca's promo.
Bianca's promo was good, but no one fucking came out. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The Roman stuff pissed me off. I'm like, you hyped all of Raw to tell us what's going on with the future of Roman Reigns, and he's like, watch SmackDown.
Yeah, basically.
I was like, get wrecked. So you could have put this on at the start, and I wouldn't have been so pissed off. But like, what the hell? Oh, watch SmackDown, you'll find out. It's like, oh my god, I was ready to turn Raw off, and then I was like, well, I got to wait to see what happens with Roman, and then they just told me to watch SmackDown. I'm like, what a waste of 3 hours, especially because it's the Raw after Mania. Like, it was just was.
Yeah, it was a dud. It was a dud.
But all in all, we had a wonderful time with Mania. I have not there's way more positives than negatives, so that's a good thing. It was an all-timer WrestleMania for me, like one that will go down as like that was one of the upper echelons of good WrestleManias in the 38 years that it's been going on. And we know now that next year WrestleMania is 2 nights, April 1st and April 2nd. at the brand new stadium in LA. Is that a brand new stadium?
Yeah. Last year was the first year. So the Rams, they won the championship
So it looked
in that
pretty.
stadium. So,
How many
oh yeah,
people can fit in that
SoFi.
thing? Is that like a
I don't
70,000?
know what the official is for the football games, but I think with wrestling, if they're hoping they could probably get close to 100 if everybody,
Cool.
it's huge though. It's a huge
It's
state of the art stadium.
it's very new, isn't it? Very modern
Yeah.
stadium. There'll be lots of
Mm-hmm.
screens. I'm already excited for next year's WrestleMania because it's going to have a Hollywood theme and it's going to be over the top. And you already know that
The most stars are in Hollywood, so they
be a
should be
good
out.
time. It's going to be a very good WrestleMania. I am very, very, very close to booking my flights to LA next year.
I was gonna say, I am hopefully it would be nice to head out to LA for WrestleMania next year.
To be completely honest with everybody, LA is the place I want to visit most if I ever do get to the States, and I would not be opposed to spending a week over there to go watch WrestleMania.
Yeah, you fly in on Thursday. You catch maybe an indie show or two. You go to both nights of Mania. Maybe hit up the Raw. Good to go.
Back home, and we're good to go.
Yeah,
I am very much considering it. Very much considering booking some flights to LA and going all out for this thing and seeing LA, because hey, people can say what they want to about America, but there's nothing like Hollywood. You see it all your life as a child. I want to see it, and I want to see how accurate Grand Theft Auto is. Come on, it's based on LA.
I've never been out there. I've never been out there myself either. So
might be a time that I finally get over and I can. Hey, a lot of people seem to be thinking about going to WrestleMania in LA, so might be time for me to get over there and have a hello to everybody.
I think LA, from what I've heard and like what I know about it, that's also a good town for all the stuff that comes with Mania. Like all the independent shows, the GCW stuff, the Joey Janela Spring Break. Like LA is a good town where everything's kind of right
Effie's
there.
Big Gay Brunch is going to go off.
100%. 100%.
It's going to go off 100%, in California.
Wale Mania, all that shit. Yeah, I would try to go to as many things as I humanly
trust me. The States is something that I'm ever only going to do once in my life. If I'm going to LA, I'm going to LA. Like, I'm going with some money. I'm going with a lot of wrestling, and I'm going to try and do as much as I can while in Hollywood. You're in glitz and glamour of the States, really. It's where a lot of people, it's that New York, and it's like, well, LA is like the hub of a lot of things. So, I'm put it this way, I'm highly considering putting my coin away and doing this, because hey, for you, it's a lot of money. For me, it's a lot of money. It's a long time. It's a 17-hour flight. It's an exercise and a half for me to do it, but it's a bucket list for me to go to WrestleMania. I've never done it. I'm over here going to do it once, and hey, Hollywood is a pretty special place to do it. So, but I'm excited for all the stuff that they produce, like the video packages they produce. The Miz is going to have a fucking field day at next year's WrestleMania. Oh my God. He's going to love it. There's going to be celebrities, and there's going to be the set.
Rock will be fighting.
The Rock will probably be there, no doubt. It's going to have a very cool feel. The last time they were in Hollywood was WrestleMania 21, and they had a field day with that WrestleMania. So it's gonna be a very fun WrestleMania. But this will kind of wrap us up. Next week, we're gonna try our best to get a episode out to you guys. But as everyone knows, I'm moving house next week. We're gonna see what we can do. But again, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I am a busy little guy. For the next couple of weeks, we've got Easter. I'm normal at work. It's not like I'm taking any time off work to move. As you can tell, I haven't packed a lot of my shit. You know how hard it is to start. You're like, where do I start with this bullshit? Like, I've started, but I'm like, I need some of this stuff in between the time. It's just, I'm living out of suitcases and boxes, and it's a very difficult time. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best to try and squeeze in a recording session, but if it doesn't happen, hey, it doesn't happen. We'll get back to it. But hey, you got a supersized episode today with WrestleMania talk and everything like that. So We should be cooking, but I'll do my best to try and squeeze in, even if it's a little 20, 30-minute episode just to get something out there. Hey, we'll try our best, but we'll do something. We'll try our best to do. Well, I'll try my best. It's not on JPJ. It's on me because I'm the one that's busy at the moment. But for me, the next couple of weeks, you probably won't see too much of me just because I'm not going to be streaming. It's going to be a period of time where I'm in my new place where I don't have internet for a couple of days. So I won't be around too much with any kind of content related stuff. As of time of this release, I'll have a stream or two left in me before I move. But yeah, you won't see me until I'm in my new space. So perhaps the next time you even see us, if we don't get an episode out, I'll be in a new space, guys. So it'll kind of look a little bit different. We'll kind of do some different things. But JPJ has finally started over on his Twitch. Like I said at the start, he joined me on my Twitch. His Twitch is now located just underneath him on the screen. So you can go and follow him on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But he's been playing some baseball stuff, I know, like that. But he was talking wrestling. Like, I'm sure you're looking to ramp up your Twitch streaming schedule as much as you can.
Yes, I'm trying. Yeah, my shoot job, as you know too, it can be a little demanding from time to time. So it's kind of hard to have like a set schedule of when I can get on there. But I've gotten on there like 3 or 4 times already. But yeah, usually I'm playing MLB The Show. I want to play some WWE 2K22 as well. But like, it's really just going on there, playing games like you do, having fun, just kind of shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Just kind of diving into that world. I know I've talked to you a lot over like the last year or so about wanting to kind of up my stuff here to start diving into that world. And I have. It took a little bit, but I have. So now I'm diving in, getting my feet wet, kind of streaming to myself most of the time, getting those hours in, just trying to figure it out.
It takes a little bit
better as I go, and then
it takes a little bit. But once you get there, you can.
Yeah, I feel like for 2 or 3 times of doing it, I've seen people that have been worse. So. Hey,
I have times when I stream and there's one person there, and I have a great old time.
Of course, it's all about having fun, right?
I love the word of, and listen, we'll never have this hype that's like weeks long in advance, but sometimes I'll just message JPJ and be like, I'm streaming in 5 minutes. Do you want to come and hang out? Because we really did have a wonderful time.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
And JPJ wasn't playing. I wasn't even playing. We're just watching it. But like JPJ can come and just hang out and watch me play stuff, and he's just in the call, and it's just fun. So like, and it like, I know that like with you, you're probably going into this Twitch world of like a blank slate of like, oh my God, what am I fucking doing? So to have someone there that's like kind of been doing it for a hot minute, I'm not saying I'm an expert because I'm definitely not. But like just to have someone there, you're like, okay, cool, I can do this as well. So Twitch is a very special, when you build up your community and stuff, it is a very cool, special place. Like I'm dreading the fact that I probably won't be streaming for a couple of weeks coming up to the end of this week, because I'm like, oh, that's my outlet just to, if I'm having a bad day or something like that, I just get on stream and I just chill out and bullshit and be a fucking idiot. That's my favorite thing in the world to do. So like, it's fun. Twitch is really fun. So go and follow JPJ on Twitch. Follow him on all his socials.
Please do. That would be great.
Of course, all the links to my stuff as well as JPJ's are in the description below. And yeah, we'll hopefully be back next week, but if not, we'll be back the Thursday after 9 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time. It's for you guys in the States. It's when you wake up on a Thursday morning, she's up. She's ready for you to enter. And you know that it's only on YouTube now. I'm not uploading to the podcast thing. It just wasn't getting any traction. I'm like, why create extra work for myself? Just go to my YouTube. And over the next month or so, I'm going to be sorting my YouTube. So this may have its own dedicated channel very, very soon. I'm trying to get it all sorted, but we'll see how it goes because, hey, this just kind of, I like the fact that this show kind of hides under the radar a little bit with what I do. I like that because it feels a little bit more freeing and it's like its own little thing. And if you watch it, you watch it. And if not, me and JPJ are in this state with this show that we don't care if anyone watches it because we have a good time with this show because we just get to talk and hang out. And that's fun. So, yeah, we hope you have a wonderful Thursday. What's left of it, what's coming up for it. And of course, Between Two Beards. I should probably just state that if anyone seen my Twitter, I'm no longer a part of Love Wrestling. It was just time for me to take a little bit of a step away from that kind of stuff. I was just burnt out with a lot of the stuff I was doing. And I always said that I didn't want to just take a spot to take a spot. I hate when people do that. I didn't want to become a hypocrite. So it was time for me to step away. There is more to that, but I'm not going to talk about it until I'm ready to talk about that kind of stuff. And JPJ knows exactly what I'm alluding to. Who knows if I'll ever say why. But for right now, I am happily taking a step away from Love Wrestling. But all the love to Spencer and you and Pluggo and Zach, Astrid. I have no ill will towards any of it there. But JPJ knows exactly the few minutes before I said I was going to take a step away. And
yeah. But it is what it is.
Much love to Love Wrestling, and I hope they keep killing it because they've been doing a lot of good stuff. But I thought I'd just say that for anyone that missed my tweet and was wondering what's happening to the legacy of. She's gone. Will it come back? I don't know. I love doing the legacy of. It was a really fun time. I have a lot of love for that series. I'm really proud of what I did with that series, and I think, given the circumstances, I think it could have been more. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, I love the legacy of. Could it come back on my channel at some point? Maybe. Could it come back to Love Wrestling at some point? Never say never, I guess. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. But you can watch Between Two Beards on Love Wrestling every single Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Eastern time.
So you can watch it in the morning on Fridays for if you're in my neck of the woods in this part of the world. But yeah, other than that, I think we're all caught up with everything. We hope to see you next week. Hopefully. If not, I'm sorry. But keep catching this. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Tell us what you think about Wrestlemania in the comments below. We'll do our best to monitor the comments and say hello to you guys and all of that. And yeah, just keep on keeping on. We're still in a weird time in the world and we're just enjoying what we can enjoy. I can't really say anything too else. All smiles from me. All smiles from JPJ.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to say before we sign on out?
No, I think you basically nailed it. Yeah, I'm just, if we can get a quick one in next week, we will. But if not, we'll be back here talking about, we've been wrestling heavy the last since our return. So maybe we'll throw in a non-wrestling one here or there.
Wrestling will be on the downhill now that WrestleMania is over, and I'll try to probably steer away from wrestling. This is when I always take a little bit of a, hey, if I don't get to watch all the wrestling, this is probably the time of year to dip out for a minute because it's just not, you know what I mean? When we start getting back up into the AEW Double or Nothing kind of scene, start gearing up for that again. But a few weeks, hey, we need to talk about we've done wrestling. I know, I'd like to talk about something else. So we'll get back to it, but don't worry. We hope to see you next week. But we love you all very much, and we'll see you soon. Peace out, everyone.
Peace.